Good evening. To those of you that are watching, I'm going to start by sharing this around. As many of you might know, there has been another assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And all I can say is the more that I'm digging into this, how fast-paced this is going, is starting to remind me a lot of the 2024 assassination attempt. It's starting to sound very much like an op. The fact that Trump seems to be very much kind of too happy about this, and that they didn't necessarily try to rush him out of the room after this had happened. The fact that Carolyn Leavitt kind of may or may not have had a Freudian slip when she said that shots will be fired prior to the dinner. There's a lot of stuff that just seems rather sus about this. So I don't know what to really say about this. I figured I would go live for this so that we could kind of keep an eye out on what's transpiring. So right now, from what we know, oops, that is not what I wanted to do. Sorry, I am trying to multitask like horribly right now because there's this going on and I'm trying to like get this out to the wider audience. Oh my God. It's so hard sometimes when you're trying to multitask and you're trying to do things quickly, but this is sometimes why I feel I really wish I had a team, but I also can't pay a team. So, you know, this is like I said, this is kind of a one-woman horse show, more like a shit show, if anything. Hi there, guys. So yeah, if you're just tuning in now, I'm trying to multitask and get this out to the wider audience. But as we have currently been hearing, there has been another assassination attempt, quote unquote. I'm going to use that term loosely until I know otherwise. But this is starting to sound more like an op. This is sounding more like he's trying to do a kind of a rehash of the 2024 incident. And it's starting to kind of, and we know exactly what's going to happen when he gives that statement. He's going to blame the left. Because he's been very hardline about going after his opposition. They've been trying to push the SAFE Act, which would make it harder for people such as trans people or married women who have changed their names to be able to vote, because it would strip, if the name doesn't appear the same on your birth certificate, they're going to basically, that the SAVE Act is designed to make it harder for you to go through your voter registration. So they're trying to get that passed in Congress, which did not sound like it had the support to do so beforehand, but you don't know how he's going to try to hash this. You have Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, who may have had a Freudian slip when she said that shots will be fired. So yeah, this is all very concerning. This is starting to sound more and more like an op. So I keep kind of refreshing everything here. I do have this on CNN's website at the moment. Yeah, so far Trump has not taken the stage just yet. So while we wait, I'm just going to get this, kind of try to get this out there to as many people. Oops. So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, I've gotten it. I'm kind of getting the word out there now that we are currently live. Yeah, I disagree. I think this is already sounding very sus to me. Just the whole they did not even rush the man out of the room from what I've gathered. They didn't do so until like after everything had already been taken care of, so to speak. And keep in mind, these are pretty high security events, so they're in a very small, like, ballroom space in a hotel. So there's something about this that doesn't sit right. Keep in mind that his poll numbers are dwindling, that the war in Iran's not going well for him right now. So there's a lot of factors that are at play that would make sense why they would use this as an op, why they would be trying, why they would be using this as a moment to stir propaganda. So I wouldn't even be surprised if, to some degree, that Israel's not in on this to some degree, if this isn't like some joint venture. Perhaps they do blame left. Perhaps they try to blame this on Iran. Maybe they might do both. Wouldn't even, it would be interesting to see if they don't even try to work in trans people somewhere along the line, because like nothing has to make sense with these people. You know it doesn't. So I'm just also checking messages as well, because I'm also at the same time getting messages and stuff like that from a personal chat that I'm also in. So I'm trying to like multitask and it's not really working very well. So I do apologize. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's why I'm saying I would not be surprised if Israel is not, if the Zionist state's not behind this. I really would not be surprised at all. So yeah, right now we are just kind of waiting. Yeah, it's still saying that Trump is on his way to the White House. Oh, we might have something here. No, I would not like to join PBS. I know that they're struggling right now, but I do not want to donate to them right now. Okay. Yes, so far still does not look like there's anything going on just yet. There are, I will turn this on. I will share the screen. And I will also turn it off. We think that not yet truly is happening just yet. So I'm going to mute this just for a quick second while I kind of recap what's going on to Logan and to anybody else that might be joining at this time. Basically, there has been another assassination attempt on Trump, and apparently, but this is starting to sound very sus. We are quite literally doing this. I'm waiting for them to actually do this. Yeah, like this is why I'm saying the pace at which this is moving seems very suspicious to me. And the fact that he seemed almost overly enthusiastic about, law enforcement and Secret Service jumping in there seems very suspicious. So, yeah, I'm not sure, man. Like, this is just all kind of the fact that Carolyn Levitt also may have said something along the lines of, that shots will be fired as like a Freudian slip prior to the dinner itself. So, yeah, this is all sounding very sus. There is another, so Vinny, there's been another assassination attempt against Trump at the White House Correspondence Dinner. And basically, it's just sounding very sus. The way that they've like rushed this. This is all these events have taken place within the course of literally an hour, by the way. They are moving way too quickly with this, seeming very overly enthusiastic about this, and it definitely is starting to sound more like this is an op. So, um, so yeah, we're just at this point waiting on to see what's happening here. But mark my words, they are going to probably blame the left, possibly also Iran. We do not know because the war is not going well. You know that they're trying to pass the SAVE Act. They've got that whole push about trying to go after the opposition in general that they've been trying to push for months. So we know what's at stake here. We know what they're fucking doing. This is just sounding more and more fucking suspicious. So we are still waiting on everything to take place. But basically, they issued a press announcement about just before 7 to say that in about half an hour, Trump would give a statement. So at this point, we are just waiting on that. Um, Trump Trump has gone through another assassination attempt, and it's starting to sound a lot like the 2024 presidential election assassination attempt. The way that they've moved these events very quickly over the course of the last hour, basically. How Trump seems overly enthusiastic about everything. Yeah, and they keep in mind it was just before. It would have been just before, because it's currently 7:30 our time. It's 10:30 their time. So basically, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people that are also making a lot of statements saying that this sounds very sus. It sounds very much like the events that took place in July of 2024, where he was, there was an attempt on his life, which we all know was a fucking op at this point. It's very obvious it was very much an op. So mark my words, he's going to blame leftists in some way. I already have a feeling he's going to do that. I have a feeling that he's maybe going to try to blame Iran for this, maybe both. Wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't try to work trans people in there somehow. Yeah. We're just currently waiting at this point for Trump to take the stage, because they did say prior to 7 o'clock Pacific time, which would be about 10 o'clock Washington time, that they said that they were going to have a statement in about half an hour. It has currently now been half an hour. It's actually been a little over that. So we are just at this point waiting for him to take the stage momentarily. Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point, this is kind of like it, like it's. I'm not saying it's not possible for somebody to have taken a pot shot at him, but I'm also saying for a high security clearance event, this is unlikely. There's never been a situation like this before at a White House Correspondence dinner. So why all of a sudden now? It's just very suspicious, and it does. It just feels like this is another staged assassination, just like how it was in 2024 when he was running for president. Yeah, and Melania didn't even look frightened at all. She just kind of had that blank expression. All right, we might be starting something here soon. But yeah, this is what we're dealing with currently right now. Like I went live shortly after I heard about this. I'd also had a conversation quickly with my grandmother about this for her to tune in to watch it on CNN or something, whatever. So, yeah. All right. It looks like it's about to happen. So we're going to go live, and I'm going to turn my mic off.
Well, thank you very much. That was very unexpected, but incredibly acted upon by Secret Service and law enforcement. And this was an event dedicated to freedom of speech that was supposed to bring together members of both parties with members of the press. And in a certain way, it did, because the fact that they just unified, I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was in one way very beautiful, a very beautiful thing to see. A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity. I've ordered it to be put out. You probably have it by now, put out on Truth and put out on many other platforms. A tape showing the violence of this thug that attacked our Constitution, and also showing how quickly Secret Service and law enforcement acted on our country's behalf. Really did a great job. One officer was shot, but saved by the fact that he was wearing obviously a very good bulletproof vest. He was shot from very close distance with a very powerful gun, and the vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer, and he's doing great. He's great shape. He is has very high spirits, and we told him we love him and respect him, and he's a very proud guy. He's very proud of what he does, Secret Service agent. And we looked at all of the conditions that took place tonight, and I will say, you know, it's not a particularly secure building, and I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before. But everyone owes a tremendous debt of gratitude to the courage of law enforcement, the law enforcement, and working with the DC police. And we just spoke with the mayor. And when we're finished, the police chief is going to take over and discuss it also from their viewpoint. But they also performed exactly as they were supposed to. And you see the attacker in different positions, but you also see the attacker totally subdued and under control. So as you know, this is not the first time in the past couple of years that our republic has been attacked by a would-be assassin who sought to kill. In Butler, Pennsylvania, less than 2 years ago, you all know that story. And in Palm Beach, Florida, a few months after that, we came close. We really had, again, we had some great work done by law enforcement. But in light of this evening's events, I ask that all Americans recommit with their hearts and resolving our difference peacefully. We have to resolve our differences. I will say, you had Republicans, Democrats, independents, conservatives, liberals, and progressives. Those words are interchangeable, perhaps, but maybe they're not. But yet everybody in that room, big crowd, record-setting crowd. There was a record-setting group of people. And there was a tremendous amount of love and coming together. I watched, and I was very, very impressed by that. But First Lady and I were taken very well care of, very quickly rushed off the stage. Vice President J.D. Vance, who's here, was likewise beautifully done. He was just saying how quickly everybody acted, law enforcement, Secret Service in particular in this case, but law enforcement. Marco had the same thing. Pete was there. Pete didn't want any help. He didn't want anybody to help. He doesn't want anybody to help him, but he did get some, didn't you? And I think you also said that it was very impressive. So with that, I'd like to ask Todd Blanche to come up, say a few words, and tell you it's already underway. The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California, and he's a sick person, a very sick person. And we don't want things like this to happen. I think it's very important that I say, though, and I told the representatives of the evening, they did such a beautiful job. It was such a beautiful evening. And again, they're talking about free speech in our Constitution. That's what it's all about, not just White House correspondence. It was really based on free speech in our Constitution. But I said very importantly that we'll do it again within the next 30 days, and we'll make it bigger and better and even nicer. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved. I also want to thank the press, the media. You've been very responsible in your coverage. I will say I've been seeing what's been out. You've been very responsible. So Todd Blanche, I'd like to say a few words, and then we're going to have cash. And then you're going to go on. We can ask, I guess we can take a couple of questions. I want to thank the First Lady that was a rather traumatic experience for her. There was a lot of action taking place up there very quickly. But again, the response time was really incredible. And we're going to reschedule. We're going to do it again. We're not going to let anybody take over our society. We're not going to cancel things out because we can't do that. We wanted to stay tonight. I will tell you, I fought like hell to stay. But it was protocol. They said, please, sir, because they didn't know there was a lot of action going on, and they didn't know, could there be probably a lone shooter, but we'll find out. We'll find out very quickly. They have it very well under control. So I want to thank everybody very much. And Todd Blanche, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Tonight you saw the very worst and the very best of this country. You saw the very worst by the actions of that coward that the president just talked about. But you also saw the very best because you saw law enforcement do exactly what they're supposed to do. And you'll see the videos come out, I expect, very shortly, and you'll see law enforcement do exactly what we want them to do. And so I echo what President Trump just said, that we are extraordinarily grateful and appreciative of the men and women of law enforcement that did their jobs tonight, including one who was who was injured. This investigation is ongoing. I expect you will see charges filed shortly. The charges should be self-evident given the conduct, but as you'll hear, there will be multiple charges surrounding the shooting, around the possession of firearms, and anything else that we can get on this guy. The investigation is obviously ongoing and just started. There's federal law enforcement already working on search warrants and doing their job, and I don't want to get ahead of them and don't want to get ahead of the work that they're doing even as we speak. Director Patel and I were just on the crime scene a short while ago, and everybody in this room should rest assured that the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, Secret Service, everybody's on the scene doing their job. I know that the police chief is going to give an update from the scene as soon as we're finished here, and I obviously will lead the details of what they have learned to him. But in the meantime, I just want to thank everybody in this room for the courage, and I want to thank President Trump for his words, and I promise you, justice will be served. Thank you, Dr. Patel.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr. President. The president's absolutely right. You saw the best resolve of American law enforcement because you, Mr. President, inspire them 24/7, 365. You give them the resources that they need, and they know that you have their back. And that is a changing dynamic in this country. And that's why you saw brave Secret Service agents respond immediately, swiftly, subdue and take down the suspect and safeguard the lives of thousands of individuals at that hotel. Thanks to our interagency partnership with the Department of Homeland Security and the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI was rapidly deployed onto the scene, took over the evidence response unit, is examining all the ballistics that were found on scene to include the long gun and the shell casings. We are conducting witness interviews as we speak. You will hear from our team on the scene there with the mayor and the head of the FBI field division there. But please know what the Attorney General has just said reigns no truer. You saw the very best of America tonight. The very best unite us at a time of uncertainty, because we have leadership here with the president, the vice president, that backs law enforcement, and the men and women that I shook their hands on the scene today could not have been prouder to show up on scene. And as the Attorney General said, make no mistake, we are conducting witness interviews. If you have any information whatsoever related to this event, 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. No piece of information is too small. No piece of information is inadequate. We will evaluate it all. We will also be conducting interviews of those that were there. And if any of those individuals have information, please come forward to law enforcement or the FBI or the Metropolitan Police Department. We will be examining this individual's background thoroughly. That process has already started, and we are going to ensure that he was either a lone wolf actor or anyone else that was responsible. We will analyze all evidence immediately to make sure that we safeguard this country. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, thank you for your leadership. Attorney General and Homeland Secretary Merlin, thank you for your partnership in law enforcement.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do a couple and then we go to the chief. Madam Chairman, I just want to say you did a fantastic job. What a beautiful evening, and we're going to reschedule. Okay. And after that, it's very tough for her to ask a killer question, right? But you have done a fantastic job. Please.
Mr. President, I appreciate it. As you mentioned, it all happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And I wonder, especially because unfortunately you have experience with these sorts of threats, in that moment when you realized there was a threat and service agents were telling us to get down, can you describe what was going through your mind, how you were feeling in that moment?
That's a very good question, actually. It's always shocking when something like this happens. It's happened to me a little bit, and that never changes. The fact we're sitting right next to each other, First Lady on my right, and I heard a noise and sort of thought it was a tray. I thought it was a tray going down. I've heard that many times, and it was a pretty loud noise. And it was from quite far away. He hadn't breached the area at all. They really got him. But so it was quite far away, but it was a gun. And some people really understood that pretty quickly. Other people didn't. I was watching to see what was happening. Probably should have gone down even faster. Melania was very cognizant, I think, of what happened. I think she knew immediately what happened. She was saying, that's a bad noise. And we were whisked away along with other people, but we were really whisked away. And again, the performance of the Secret Service and the police, all of the law enforcement, I thought was really good. So it was very quick. There wasn't a lot of time to be thinking because it was a matter of seconds before we were out the door and gone into an area. We very much, and you wanted to too, we very much wanted to continue it because I don't like to let these sick people, these thugs, these horrible, horrible people change the fabric of our life, change the course of what we do. So we held out. You were there. We held out right till the end, but they didn't want to take a chance, and I understand there was protocol. But we're going to be doing one hopefully within the next 30 days or sooner, and I am ready, willing, and able. And I was all set to really rip it. And I said to my people, this would be the most inappropriate speech ever made if I said one. So I'll have to save it. I don't know if I could ever be as rough as I was going to be tonight. I think I'm going to be probably very nice. I'll be very boring the next time, but we're going to have a great event. And you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names here, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
And after Butler, your team for a while rethought outdoor events.
Yeah.
Do you think that you now need to rethink
No.
indoor?
Well, but then you just don't do events. No, I can't do that. I have to. It is what it is. We have to do it. The room was very, very secure. You know, he charged from 50 yards away, so he was very far away from the room.
And what did you think when you saw the video of how fast he was running?
He was moving. He was really moving. And the reaction time was great. Boy, those guys, they had their guns drawn literally by the time he was there. They were shooting.
That's right.
I thought they were very impressive. And if I didn't, I'd let you know. I'm not going to be, I would not stand for that. No, I thought they were very impressive.
Thank you, President Trump, and thank
Bye.
you for updating us on
Thank
the
you.
suspect earlier. Were you aware of any threats? Was your team aware of any threats beforehand? And do you believe you were the target of this tonight?
I guess. I mean, these people they're crazy. They're crazy. And, you never know. He was very far away from me. He had to go through a lot. We had resources all over. We had resources sitting at tables, literally in disguise, sitting maybe at your table, who knows? But we had people all over the room, so he had a long way to go. That was really a first line of defense, and they got him. And they really, they acted incredibly. No, there was no notification. We had no idea. Go ahead,
Do you
Kevin.
have any political motivations from this?
Well, you never know. Now, we'll be able to tell you that maybe by tomorrow or the next day. He's in custody, and they're asking him a lot of questions. I guess they're going over, Todd, and they're already at his apartment. He lives in California.
Yes, sir.
And they're over there, so they'll be able to tell you. Thank you, Caitlin.
President Trump, did the suspect say anything, or was he wearing anything that would allege some type of motive here?
No, I mean, he was a guy who looked pretty evil when he was down. They had him down. He was fighting hard. He was in my opinion, a sick person. Who would do that but a sick person? But I think you're going to find everything about him. No reason to talk about it now. But tomorrow at this time, long before this time, you're going to know a lot of things about him. They seem to think he was a lone wolf, and I feel that too.
Are you concerned about U.S. Secret Service protection ability? We saw several of the detainees take minutes to be escorted out the room.
No, they acted very quickly. No, I was very impressed by Secret Service. I mean, I'm the one, and Mark Wayne, you would agree with that, I think. I'm the one that would complain. You don't have to complain for me. I would be complaining. I'd be up here right now saying they didn't do their job. Oh, believe me, because, you know, it's my life. And I want to live because I want to make this country great. That's why I want to live. But when you're impactful, they go after you. When you're not impactful, they leave you alone. Okay, a couple of more. Go ahead, please.
Is there any indication that this shooting could have been linked to the war in Iran?
I don't think so, but you never know. We're going to know a lot. We have the best people in the world working on it, and we're going to know a lot. Please.
Mr. President, there's a lot. There's you, as well as some of us who have covered Butler, experienced another horrific day 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What felt similar? You know, you had the First Lady with you today. What felt different? And you have another 2+ years in office. Are you concerned about something like this happening?
Well, I
again?
can't be concerned. I can only get great people. They did the job, in my opinion, a much better job than Butler. Butler had one weak spot that we all know about. Somebody should have been up there. But even Butler, we had our sniper on our side within 4.2 seconds from a distance of about 400 yards, one shot, and he was gone. And if he didn't do it now, you know, he's David. His name was David. I say, hello, David, every time I see him. David, I like you very much, David. But think of that. Now, if he doesn't hit him, and he hit him right between the eyes from 400 yards without any notice, nobody knew. He heard a sound. He looked over, and there was actually a tree that was somewhat in his way. You know the story very well. And he aimed, he fired. And if he didn't do that, beyond me, you would have had a lot more people killed. We lost one great person and 2 people very badly hurt. They're okay now. But no, that was, so in a sense, you know, it was pretty amazing the job they did. But they did have that one weak spot. As you know, they should have had that covered. Tonight, they had everything covered very quickly. And he was fast. He was running full blast, and they got him before they got any further. I was very far away. You know, he hadn't anywhere close to breach the doors of the ballroom. The ballroom was sealed, and everybody in there. That's why once those doors opened, they didn't want to do tonight. If the doors weren't opened, we could have probably done it tonight. But I think we're much better off rescheduling. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, for you and perhaps law enforcement as well, what is the level of confidence that this was a lone actor? And has the suspect made any statements to police while in custody?
Yeah, I think it's just it's not my profession. We have great professionals up here and outside that have been working with us. My impression is he was a lone wolf, whack job. These are crazy people. And they have to be dealt with. We had that in the second attempt, as you know, and he's spending life in prison. Because if you let him out, they'll probably, you know, if he serves 10 years or 15 years, you let him out, he'll probably try it again with somebody else. They're sick people. We have a lot of sick people. But you're going to know, I think very shortly, you're going to know, Todd, a lot about him. You're going to know a lot about him. Yeah, a couple of more. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Are you concerned about political violence? This could be politically
All
motivated.
violence. I'm concerned about everything. Look, but I can't be so concerned that you can't function. No, I'm here. It's a dangerous profession. You know, I tell the story, race car drivers, I think it's very dangerous. So if you take 1% and then take about 10% of 1%, just to break it down very easily, they die. So much less than 1%, 10% of 1%. I think bull riding is very dangerous. If you take about the same 10% of 1%, much less than 1%. But if you take presidents, it's 5.8%. And about 8% are shot at. So nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession, but I don't view it that way. Look, I'm here to do a job. As part of the job, it is a dangerous, I can't imagine that there's any profession that's more dangerous. but I love the country and I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the job we've done. You see what's happened. We have a great country. We've got, I think, the most successful, the hottest country anywhere in the world. This happened over a period of just a year, and we're going to do great things. But with that come risks. There's no question about it. Yeah.
To that end, I mean, there's been so much political violence, not just aimed at yourself, but at other members of Congress, state house speakers, you name it. Is that just the cost of doing business to do politics in America anymore?
Yeah, well,
what does that say about our country?
Too. Yeah, we're not the only country. You look at this great violence with all countries. I was talking to somebody from another country today, and they have numerous assassinations of political figures all over the world. You look at South America, it's like some of the numbers are just horrific. It's dangerous stuff, whether it's here or someplace else. No country is immune. No country. Good question.
At this point?
Well, probably if I decided to just not do much, if I let everybody rip us off and take advantage of us. Look, we're leading the world in trade now. We're leading the world in the military. We're the greatest military in the world. I rebuilt it in my first term, and now we use it because we have no choice. We can't let, as an example, Iran, we can't let them get a nuclear weapon. Everything will be peanuts compared to that if they ever were given a nuclear weapon, and they'd use it too. Marco and I were talking about it today. They would use it without even hesitation. We can't do that. It was a shame. I said, oh boy, look at the numbers. We just broke 50,000 in the Dow. We just broke 7,000 in the S&P. They said we couldn't do it in 7 years, in 5 years, 4 years. They were saying maybe in 5 or 6 years. And we did it in 1 year. And I called everybody together. I called all of these people and others, and I said, we have to take a little journey. I seek to do this. We just had the great number. We just broke 50,000. Wasn't supposed to happen during my term. Wasn't reachable. We did it in 1 year. And I said, we're going to have to make a journey to Iran. They're going to have a nuclear weapon if we don't do it. We had the B-2 bombers take them out. I terminated in the first term the Obama agreement, the Iran nuclear agreement, which was a disaster. That was a road to a nuclear weapon. They would have used it. They would have used it 100%. So, when you do things like that, you become a target. If I wasn't doing that, I guess I'd be a lot less of a target. But I'm honored to be. Okay, one more question. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, President Trump. Do you know how the gun was brought into the hotel? And also, how does this event impact you as the leader of our country? Do you think it will change your leadership?
like not to think about it. I lead a pretty normal life, considering it's a dangerous life. I think I handle it as well as it can be handled. I think a lot of other people, you read stories where they become basket cases. To be honest with you, I'm not a basket case. I really take it as it is. I do it for the country. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I have a first lady who's doing a terrific job. She loves the country, and she recognizes it better than anybody. She's told me numerous times. She said, you are in a dangerous job, but that goes along with her too. I mean, it's dangerous for her too. We sat there tonight, we heard that noise, and it was either a tray or a bullet. I was hoping it was a tray, but it wasn't. And again, we had some very brave people doing a great job, so we're very proud of them and happy with them. I just want to thank everybody. They will be able to give you all that information as to the names and everything else. I think we released the names already. Most of you would have it, but his name. We appreciate it. I see so many tuxedos and beautiful dresses. It was a little different evening than we thought, but we're going to do it again, and we have a great chairman who we're so proud of, and we have to make it better. We'll make it safer, I guess, right? But we're going to make it even better. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
About how impactful this was. Can we hear from her about?
Well, honey, would you want to say something?
Okay.
Huh?
Right. Millions of people across the globe, in fact, are watching you. You demonstrated courageous leadership, and thank God you're alive. All of us are alive today. What is the message that you want to give to the world that this should change? What corrective measures can we take from here on?
Well, all you can do, look, I don't care how many people you have, how good they are. They can be the greatest people. You have the greatest security in history. If you have a whack job who's got a brain, but it's a little bit distorted or a lot distorted, they can make trouble. I would say, Pete, right? You know, they can make trouble. Some of these people are of genius level IQ and they're nuts. So it can be trouble. So you do absolutely the best. You get the best. We have the best people. Well, look, it was proven tonight. He started running from 50 yards and he was fast. He was like a blur on tape. He was moving. It was very impressive the way they got him. Because a lot of people would be looking and saying, you know, it's like a weird feeling, and they would let him get through, but they didn't let him get through. They drew those guns so fast. They looked like Matt Dillon. They looked like somebody that knew what they were doing. What do we do? But it comes with the territory. And if you want to do a great job, I really believe that. And you take a look at what's happened to some of our greatest presidents, and it doesn't happen to people that don't do anything. And it's not going to deter me from winning the war in Iran. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I really don't think so, based on what we know. But we're going to continue to do a great job. That's all I can do. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Forgot to turn my mic back on. So yeah, I'm turning that off. Sorry for anybody that lost brain cells or had a fucking, or had, a headache after all that. But there's a lot to unpack all that. First of all, I like how right there at the end he was bringing up, well, I don't know if it had anything to do with Iran. As again, that's something we need to pay attention to in the next couple of days, because along with, there was another note I put down here about they were saying that they were quick to apprehend a suspect. The suspect they were naming, saying that he was from California. They specifically used he pronouns, so supposedly they already have this suspect in custody. He was running so fast that it was a blur. Then how do you even know if the guy even had a gun? Because that was the other thing I was kind of taking note of. It's like, if this guy was moving so fast, how do you know if he even had a gun? He was also saying that he thought that it was a tray that clanged to the floor. I don't know how much of you know this, but a tray clanging to the floor and the sound of a gun being fired are two very distinctive fucking sounds. So if you don't know whether what it was, how do you know that there was even a gun to begin with? How do you know there was even a gun if he was running so fast that it was all a blur, but then supposedly if he was moving so fast, he was able to be taken down very quickly by Secret Service agents and law enforcement. And then there was also some mention of a sniper on their side. What? I'm going to leave this up for a minute because this is a point that we're going to be hammering on quite considerably in all this. This just seems so staged. Going off of that specifically, again, this whole thing about how, well, I don't know if Iran was involved or not. I guess we're going to end up getting a better idea of what they're going to cook up over in the next few days or so, that we're as we start learning more information. There's a couple of things I do also want to pinpoint also. There was a couple of journalists that asked a couple of questions. I'll start with this one, actually. Anything that person was wearing as an indicator. You remember there was a journalist that said that. It's which kind of in that, so pay attention to that language. It was the person wearing anything that may have been an indicator, which is a very light way of saying that they are trying to blame this potentially on someone who's Muslim or somebody that is, comes from the Middle East. Notice that how that language sounds. Or perhaps they are trying to indicate that maybe that person was wearing some sort of mask or something like that, because maybe they're trying to, claim again that maybe it was a leftist or something like that. You could also use it against trans people. But realistically, what it sounds like is they're trying to blame this on somebody who's Muslim, of Arab, some sort of Arab or Iranian descent. It very much sounds like Islamophobia to me. It sounds like very hollow Islamophobia, but they're just not wanting to express that. Another journalist had said something saying, why do you think this keeps happening to you? Which that alone, again, it's very obvious that he's picked the press and that he's picking specific questions. This is all sounding very staged. So yeah, the question of why do you think this keeps happening to you? And then we have both him and I think this came up at least 3 or if not more times within just that press conference, where they kept going, kind of reflecting back on the 2024 incident. Notice how they are playing that, how they are very suspiciously referencing that. They keep going back to, what was it, Butlerville, Pennsylvania, where that took place. They keep going back to that. That sounds really sus, because that too was an op. Let's see. So yeah, also he claimed that they were whisked away. No, they were not whisked away until after this incident had been long settled. In fact, I'm almost certain that he dawdled around, which is why the press conference took a little bit extra time to start. They were not in any grand hurry to get him out of there, which is another reason why I think that this is staged. Yeah, they can only pull this off so many times for a bunch of idiots, maybe once or maybe twice. But if you do it more than this, then they're going to see through it. Do I think he's trying? Honestly, yeah. I do think that he might be trying to go the Iran route, because keep in mind there was a recent round of peace talks. So he might be trying to, get out of this. I would not be surprised, though, if they also somehow try to blame this on some sort of leftist. There's also that possibility. I still am not convinced that they won't try to throw in trans people to some degree. But I do think, from the sounds of the way even some of those journalists were going, it sounds like they are trying to take this in an Islamophobic direction. So I'm not discounting the leftist thing because they claim that this guy was from California, keep in mind. But I would not be surprised if they don't I would not be surprised if they don't claim that this guy was Islamic, or that somehow tried to tying this to Palestinians or Iranians or something like that. So But I'm not thoroughly convinced that they aren't going to blame the left for this. They're going to definitely try. Again, they were really quick to apprehend a suspect. The suspect being from California, they, and also used he pronouns. So they already specifically seem to have had somebody picked out for this. Usually they don't just catch somebody that quickly. But yeah, very obvious the media is very much picked by Trump. But yeah, it doesn't even sound like they even know what the fuck, if there was even a gun being involved. For all we know, yeah, it could have just been a tray, but they're trying to, like, because I wouldn't even put it past them for being so stupid that they don't just have like some tray that falls, but then they try to like, make some sort of like scene about it. Like, let's see. And then I'd also like to just briefly mention this too, because they mentioned, I'm just going to pull this page out of my notebook. They also mentioned, they asked him about, is this just the cost to do politics today? And my only thought is, yeah, it is. And guess who caused it? People like Trump are the ones that have led. Well, you can't blame it all completely on Trump, but he is a big part of it. He is a big part of why this is a cost to do politics. And we are going to see that cost continue to rise, over the coming years, even the coming decades. Because, like, America is doomed at some point to factionalism and balkanization. It just is. And I will be doing a video. I'm actually in the process of doing a video on that I'm trying to get out probably in this coming week or so. I'll go more into detail about that in that video, but it's not really relevant to this topic. But Trump is a big part of what has led to this. So, so he also mentioned and this is where I kind of want to lead into this. He made some very concerning statements going into this. One of them being what we're planning at the White House was something I noticed that he was saying earlier on in the thing, which kind of you could lean on the SAVE Act and the fact that, he's ardently pushing that executive order he signed in, like, what was it, August or September, where he's been trying to go after opposition. The SAVE Act itself is designed to go after people who have, who have changed their names. So, trans people and people that are probably, exiled from their own countries for one reason or the other, or people that, happen to get married like women. So it's one of those things where it is all designed to try to control the opposition. So when he says what we're planning this is all part of, like what we're planning at the White House is so important. Take note of that. I mentioned that in the comments, but take note of that. Again, we're going to see what they're going to cook up over in the next couple of days, like who this suspect is, et cetera, et cetera. But pay attention to the language. What we're planning at the White House, were there, what was this person wearing that was an indicator? Why do you think this keeps happening to you? Is the cost of doing politics, that sort of stuff. All of those things between him and the press, take note of that. Keep that in the back of your mind as we go through the next couple of days, the next few weeks, few months even. Keep those thoughts, keep those quotes in the back of your head, because they are going to be very important about, in the near future. Another one, their recommit to resolve our differences. Well, we all know he's not in any position where he's willing to commit to resolving any differences. His idea to resolve differences is to obliterate opposition, to get rid of the opposition, to outlaw and attack his opposition. So that's another phrase you need to keep in the back of your mind. What we're planning at the White House, the recommitment to resolve our differences. You know, it's not the first time that someone has attempted to, you know, to kill and, you know, trying to like essentially undermine, you know, the whole, I think it was something along the lines of, it wasn't the first time that someone has tried to attempt to kill to undermine the Republic. You mean like how you guys killed people and attempted to overthrow the government on January 6, 2021? So, yeah. Furthering that, you know, literally has the gall to say free while he literally undermines fucking free speech, while he fucking undermines this glorious Constitution that that liberals and conservatives like to fucking wave around. You know, he violates that. He's undermining the very, you know, illusion of democracy itself in the United States. So what the fuck are you talking about when you mean free speech in our Constitution, bro? We're not going to let people, you know, take over our society. Oh, well, does that include you then? Probably not. No, that's another key phrase to keep in mind. You know, we're not going to let people take over our society. Keep that as another phrase in your mind, because that is also very telling that they're going to push against their opposition. In fact, they might even go, you know what? Here's a theory. They might actually go the Iran route, but they are going to continue to push against those that are opposed to the Iran war, who are opposed to the Trump regime in general. So they might blame Iran, use that as a propaganda tool to continue the war in Iran while pushing their anti-opposition agenda at home. That actually sounds a lot more plausible, and especially kind of with the way that they're going, with just how things are being worded here. Okay, so I think I nailed everything that was in there. Yeah, he mentioned also that we are leading the world in trade and rebuilding the military. Bitch, where? Where's the trade? Oh yeah, that's right. It's locked up in the Strait of Hormuz because you fucking assholes are fucking blockading it. Where's the trade? Oh, it's not nowhere because you're blockading Cuba and the fucking Caribbean. So yeah, trade, bitch, where? Rebuilding the military, bitch, where? Where are you rebuilding the military? Because the last time I checked, the U.S. military can't even fucking take over Iran or Venezuela or Cuba. So what fucking military are you talking about? Yeah, sorry if you're wearing headphones. You might want to just play this on generic laptop sound. I might get a bit fucking heated in this. Yo, Jason. So, yeah. A couple of things just funny I thought I would kind of say is that he going on a whole case about, you know, I'm not a basket case, bitch. Seriously? What was that whole 20 minutes in front of the goddamn media, that senile fucking, babbling. Yeah, and you're not a basket case. Okay, you're also totally. Also, I love how he called the guy the suspect a whack job, saying that even a whack job with a brain can cause trouble. Yeah, we all know that. Well, except here's the difference between, this suspect and Donald Trump and his cronies. This suspect probably actually has a brain. If this actually was like a real thing, this suspect actually probably has a real brain, whereas the Trump administration doesn't. Trump certainly doesn't. But even people who are whack jobs who don't have brains, I think, are even more dangerous and can cause trouble. So yeah, we kind of know about that. Also, where is he getting his numbers about how the Dow was like 50,000 points on the rise? Bitch, where? Last I saw, we lost 100,000 jobs in March. And last time I checked, the fucking economy was kind of in the toilet. And you want to know who caused most of it? And not only that, his bullshit on the fucking Iran war with Iran, and he went on to some spiel about Iran and a nuclear weapon. Bitch, Iran deserves to have a fucking nuclear weapon. They deserve to defend themselves. They have a right to defend themselves. America and Israel don't have the right to exist. I'm going to just fucking say it. They don't. That neither one of them has a right to exist. They shouldn't exist. America needs to fucking balkanize and be turned back over to the native people, and Israel needs to fucking give the land back to the native Palestinians where it belongs. And yeah, just because they even if Iran has a nuke, it's not like they're probably going to fucking use them. If anything, they're going to do what North Korea does, and they're going to keep them as a deterrent. They're going to do what China and Russia does and keep them as a deterrent. They're going to do what the United States does and maybe keep them as a deterrent. Maybe the U.S. is a bad example. But the point is, they're not going to probably use them unless they absolutely have to. Unless basically they're at the bottom of the barrel. But yeah, all of this rhetoric, were they wearing anything as an indicator? The cost to do politics, we're not going to let people take over our society, recommit to resolve our differences, what we're planning at the White House. And that's just a few that I'm picking out in review. Then it's not even going into, I wrote an entire fucking page of notes forward and back on this shit. And half of that was fucking quotes that are very damning, very telling about what they might be planning. So pay attention in the next few days, few weeks, few months, especially as we lead up to the midterms. Let's pay attention about what they're doing, what they're saying. Because I'm going to be real. I think that's what they're doing. They're going to blame Iran. They're going to use that to justify continuing the war, despite the fact it is unpopular, and at this point their poll numbers are dwindling. So at this point, maybe they just don't care. They're just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just go, full fucking throttle into this because, it's kind of the Caligula mentality. Let them hate so long as they fear me. And when I'm saying that, I'm meaning let's go full throttle into Iran while we push the boot down onto the throats of our opposition. Because that is exactly what it's sounding like. They are sounding like they are going the Islamophobic route. They're going to try to blame Iran, and then they're also going to use that fervor to try to push even harder against their opposition. Like it's not really that far-fetched of a thought. We know that he signed that executive order that was targeting specifically Antifa, anybody that essentially is against the Trump regime. And the SAVE Act is something that they was at one point looking like it was going to fail. But they might use this as a rhetoric as to why we need the SAVE Act, because it's going to prevent certain people from voting, specifically women, trans people, people that change their names, because if they change their names, it's going to make it a lot harder for them it's going to make their registration a lot harder. And guess who's the larger Democratic voting bloc? Women and trans people. So they're going to use that to try to go after the opposition. They're going to use Donald Trump's executive order and ICE and that new Homeland Security task force of theirs. Essentially their Waffen SS pretty much, or their or just their SS in general, because the ICE is already their Gestapo, so the task force would essentially be the SS. They're going to use that. They're going to use that to clamp down on protests. They're going to go even harder against the people. They are quite literally at this point, this is class war at its finest. This is capitalism in decay. This is the empire crumbling around us. And they don't want the people to have a say. Well, as Dark Snowy puts it, they don't want the poor to have a say, but essentially the poor are the true people. The proletariat are the people. The lumpen are the people. Even the labor aristocrat are the people. And those people are the ones that are generally opposed to what he is doing. So please keep that in mind. Keep these quotes in mind as we go forward, because it is starting to sound like that is the route they are going to go. They are going to try to continue this war, because at this point, fuck it. Why not? We ball, I guess. They're going to keep, trying to say, oh, don't worry about it. Our economy's just doing so well. Despite the fact that we've lost 100,000 jobs and counting, that it's hard for people to get a job. And oh yeah, all those jobs you claimed you were going to bring back to America, bitch, where? Again, we're leading in trade again, bitch, where? When you shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, they're going to keep grinding out that propaganda while continuing to push the war narrative against Iran. They're going to blame Muslims for this. They are going to start blaming the left for this, or at least they're going to use this war as a justification of going after the left, because obviously anybody left, which in their mind even includes the liberals, they're going to go after the opposition, and they're going to go after us hard. So channels like mine that already have been nuked once, you might see me get nuked again. You might, I'll keep coming back. I'll keep fucking pushing, but they are going to go harder at channels like mine, at Dark Synovia's. They're going to go after, people on the ground who are protesting against the war or protesting against Trump. So, hey, liberals, good luck with those No Kings protests. Enjoy them while you still have that right. Or should I say that privilege, because it's not really a right if it can be taken away from you, isn't it? So, yeah, this country is governed by idiots. It's governed by idiots and a bunch of moronic, rich tech bros and they're all fucking stupid. You know, people are literally fighting back against the data centers even. And because, you know, that goes against the tech bros power, that, you know, they're trying to leverage Trump to go after the, you know, those people. So yeah, the tensions are growing. We're seeing people fucking lighting warehouses on fire because they can't fucking afford to live or eat. You know, they can't pay bills. So yeah, these people, the people are starting to have enough of this, and they're going to start pushing back. And to some degree, I think the Trump administration knows this. Somebody in there is at least putting it in Trump's ear that this is what's going to happen. And Trump is going to try to use this to clamp down on that opposition. And he's gonna use the Iran war to do it. He's going to blame Iran and then use that as a justification to continue the war, and he's going to use the war as a justification to carry out his purge of the opposition. Let's not also forget the fact that he's been trying pretty much since day one to essentially enact war powers that would give him the power to basically just rule the country by decree, pretty much, which, you know, is kind of more complicated than it sounds, because the framework of the American system isn't completely designed for it to go that way, but it's not impossible for him to do it. And he has been trying to do that. He wants to lead by absolute decree. He wants the opposition is a thorn in his side. But here's the problem. When your support now has dwindled to as low as 25, or if probably even lower at this point, percent, and maybe as high as 30% at this point, all I know is that his support has dropped at least 10% in the last 6 months. So does that mean that 25 to 30% that do support you, does that mean that the other 70 to 75% of the country you're just going to lock up or kill? Because it's kind of hard to run a country with such a obnoxious minority, and also it won't be long before they're eventually going to hate you too. So what are you going to do? Start killing those people, making them disappear too? The point I'm trying to make is that you can't unring the bell. Pandora's box has already been opened. Trump's days are numbered, and I think he knows that, and he's afraid of that. I think his cabinet is afraid of that because, most of them know that, if push comes to shove, that, they could find themselves on the end of a bullet. So yeah, they are afraid. So yeah, they're afraid. They know that their time is coming. And the bourgeoisie is trying to slowly yank that power back from them, because the bourgeoisie is okay giving power over to fascists, but they have a certain limit. And I think the bourgeoisie has reached that limit. I think that at this point that they have realized that this man has run too rogue, and they're trying to reel that back in. It doesn't really matter though, because America is already kind of resigned to its fate at this point. There's really no stopping the inevitable march of time and the inevitable collapse of the United States. That started a long time ago. And this is now where we're at. This is, if anything, this is the consequences of Americans' actions. So And I don't see the ruling class allowing someone like Trump to act when what he wants that they're going to do with somebody else. He's a liability, and that's why I say it's like at this point he's gotten too rogue. He's gone too far rogue for them. Because again, it's like here's the problem with America, and this is part of the video I'm working on. America's system is kind of built on this premise where it can sustain itself by allowing a little bit of fascism. But it can't go full on fascist. Its foundations kind of aren't designed for it to go full on fascist. It can't go full on Nazi Germany. It can't go on full on even fascist Italy. It can't even go full on nationalist Francoist era, because the system kind of isn't designed to sustain it that way. Fascism itself is just not designed to sustain itself for that long. But at the same time, America cannot sustain itself under its current bourgeois system. It's very obvious that just cannot happen. And granted, this could be said about a lot of Western democracies, but America in particular is very unique in that regard. The Democrats' stupidity in 2016 has made it so that this country won't exist within another generation of Democrats. If you want to blame anyone for the reason why we have Trump in the first place. And so Comrade Bunny has a theory that I refer to as the black hole theory, and she mentioned something about the accretion disk of that black hole. And the United States, Americans had a chance to avoid that in 2016, and instead it steered right into it. And now we are resigned to our fate. We're in the black hole, and there's no way we're getting out of it. So, in the words of Samuel L. Jackson in Jurassic Park, hang on to your butts. So, anyways, I just wanted to come on. This has gone on a lot longer than I expected it to, but I wanted to come on here and at least bring that up with you guys. I will continue to be monitoring these events over the next few days. Obviously, I'm still kind of monitoring what's going on with Iran anyway, but I will be continuously providing updates. I'm also, bear with me because I'm also super busy. I'm still trying to deal with a couple other projects that I got going on. So, and then also, I'm also working with the Trans Power Party and stuff like that. So, we are trying, and that's probably the best time to plug this. Let me just say this: I will never do ads, and so, but RPN will make those ads. RPN will basically do an ad by sponsoring GoFundMe's, especially if it's for comrades or for special causes like the one that we are doing. And the one that we are currently doing is to try to raise money to get Comrade Bunny out of Kansas. She is a trans woman in Kansas. If you're familiar with how things are going there, they basically have revoked trans people's government IDs, and that basically has made it virtually impossible for one to function there. I've done an entire video on this, so I'm not going to go into the whole detail. You can go watch that. But please, if you do have the money to spare, if you can, please donate. If you can't, please share the link. It will be provided in the description. So yes, right now RPN is sponsoring, along with the Trans Power Party and its Trans Underground Railroad Network branch. We are working to try to get Bunny out of Kansas. So if you can in any way, whether that's donating or just sharing the link, please go to the link provided in the description and do what you can. Otherwise, yes, I will keep following these events. I am very busy with a lot of that stuff. I'm very busy trying to continue current projects while also trying to update news. Again, this is like, I do have other people that work with me within Red Pagan Network, but when it comes down to pushing the buttons and actually sharing everything and providing news clips or news links or whatever it is, that stuff is all a one woman shit show. So I am kept very busy, but also I'm kind of unemployed right now, so it's a good use of my time. Anyways, I do want to thank you all for the continued support for Red Pagan Network. I'm not going to right now ask for Patreon because at this point, I don't really care. And Bunny is more important on getting out of Kansas than funding this channel. This channel still runs okay without people donating to Patreon. It could get better if I had, the money to spend for those resources, but I think I'm doing just fine without it right at the moment. I do, though, can't thank you guys enough for the continued support for this channel. We're now up to 107 subscribers again in the last 4 months of being back on, since the old channel got nuked. So thank you very much for that. Continue sharing, liking, and watching these videos, because it keeps me somewhat to some degree in the algorithm, considering how hostile YouTube is to channels like this. But yeah, share it on social media, share it with your friends, share it with your family, assuming that they might be willing to listen to a trans Marxist. And thank you for watching this video. Thanks for giving it the engagement. I will continue to provide updates as they become available in the next coming days. Please do keep a watchful eye on what they do, what they say, and what they do going forward, and keep those quotes in the back of your mind, because something is really off about all this. It's very suspicious. This sounds very much like an op, very staged. So, and they're going to definitely be using this to try to blame Iran and go after the left. They are. So stay safe out there, people. Keep up the good fight. Red salute to you all. I'm Red Pagan Nicole for the Red Pagan Network, signing off. I'll see you next time.